Hello, reporter room investigators. Come on in. Come on in. Today, we're going to be talking about the Lori Vallow case. Oh my gosh. We have a lot of stuff to unpack. Uh, Come on in. Tell me where you are from. You could tell me the continent, the country, the state, the province, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. Today, we're going to be talking about the mysterious passing of Lori Vallow Daybell's third husband, Joe Ryan. I think a lot of us agree that we believe that Joe Ryan is her alleged third victim. We're going to be talking about Zulema and Alex Cox. Was Alex Cox, was this just a natural causes? Because Tammy Daybell was ruled natural causes. Joe Ryan was ruled natural causes. But I have a very interesting theory of how I think this all went down and how they did it. And I want to share that with you in just a moment. So please stay with me. But my name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects, and share with you how to do the same thing. If you have not subscribed to Reporter Room, it's like, share, leave a comment, and know that everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion. And this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I do have to CYA myself. So we're going to be talking a lot about Zulema today. So let me move myself over here. Okay. So trying to figure out what really happened to Alex Cox, I think it helps us figure out what may have happened to Joe Ryan. We know what happened to Tammy Daybell, right? It was originally ruled as natural causes. Then they re-examined her, exhumed her, re-examined her, and it turns out that it was asphyxiation. So I think Zulema's testimony provided some insights into the inner workings of this group, their beliefs, their actions, their lack of actions. Sometimes what you don't do is just as important as what you do. And I think these were all crucial to the prosecution case. And I do think that it would have been difficult to find Lori and Chad Daybell guilty without Zulema's and Melanie Gibb's testimony. However, Zulema's testimony has led to further questions about her involvement in the group. So has Melanie Gibb. Many people wonder what they knew and when they knew it, and what type of immunity deal were they given. So I want to start by talking about the relationship between Lori Vallow Daybell and her brother Alex Cox and Zulema. So Zulema was married to Alex Cox, Lori's brother. He was told that he was the warrior by Chad Daybell, and that his job was to protect Lori. This was all part of their religious group. And I want to be very clear that being Mormon or being part of the LDS, these are not typical beliefs in that faith. These are extremists, and no matter what religion you encounter, you will encounter people that twist a religion and turn it into something that it is not. So I just want to make that really clear from the outset. So Zulema married Alex Cox, but didn't tell her own son that she had married Alex, which is really interesting because Alex was found deceased on Zulema's bathroom floor, reportedly of natural causes. And as I shared with you, Tammy Daybell was also supposed to be natural causes, but was she? I am not so sure. If you're just joining me, come on in and tell me where you are from. So I think by looking at Tammy Daybell, and we know that she was found to have been asphyxiated. We know that something similar, they believe, happened with J.J. Vallow. Now, Joe Ryan, so that's Lori Vallow Daybell's third husband. She would have been Lori Ryan at that time. Even was attacked by Lori's brother, Alex Cox. And I want to show you a picture of Joe. That's Joe. And let me show you Alex Cox. That's Zulema on the right. And of course, Lori is on the left. And there's Alex Cox. Okay. Just want to know everybody to know who is who. So Joe Ryan was found on the floor, and he had been there for weeks. So a significant amount of time had passed, and I don't know if they were really able to determine what happened to Joe Ryan. They ultimately said it was arterial sclerosis, which is just some plaque buildup on your arteries. But I don't know if a lot of people, in light of everything, are really buying that that's what happened to Joe Ryan, because Lori was the beneficiary of Joe Ryan's insurance policy also. So a lot of people feel like Joe Ryan was the very first victim of Lori Vallow Daybell. Now, Alex Cox was also found on the floor, and this was also deemed to be natural causes. But a lot of people want to know, was it, or is there something more sinister? Was he being set up to take the fall for Lori and Chad Daybell? And I think looking at Zulema's actions, it certainly is interesting. So Zulema provided extensive testimony during Chad Daybell's trial. She detailed the couple's unusual beliefs about casting and the concept of light and dark spirits. Both she and Melanie boudreaux Pawlowski and Melanie Gibb, and Melanie boudreaux Pawlowski was married to Brandon Boudreaux, that's who Alex took a shot at, and Melanie would have been the beneficiary of Brandon's life insurance. And Melanie Gibb all seem all in on believing that they were the chosen one, that they were the special 144,000. So what did they think they were actually doing when they were participating in these castings on Charles Vallow? Did they have an inkling that once he was declared dark and that he was declared a zombie, that he was no longer going to be here on this earth with us? I'm watching my words here. Did they not think that maybe beforehand, was anybody else questioning? We know some people flat out left the group, right? But Melanie Pawlowski, Melanie Gibb, and Zulema all stayed. And what happened to Charles Vallow should have been a big red flag for all three of them, in my opinion. But even after that, and even after hearing that Tylee and JJ were declared dark by Lori and Chad, and knowing what happened to Charles Vallow, I mean, that would have been a chance to go to law enforcement, but they didn't. They didn't. So we're still, Melanie Gibb did absolutely nothing. And I want to just show Melanie Gibb here. This is her doing her podcast with Lori. She did absolutely nothing, even though she was visiting Lori in Rexburg, Idaho. Now, Lori told Melanie Gibb that JJ was declared dark. And even though she saw Tylee wasn't at the house and that all of her clothing was gone and that Tylee had supposedly gone to BYU in Idaho, Melanie wasn't concerned when JJ was declared dark. Or was she? Because we have this weird account from both her and her boyfriend, David Warwick, at the time. They claimed they knocked on Lori's door and texted Lori that night, and Lori didn't answer. Now, they claim they were trying to reach out to Lori because David had a bad dream and they wanted to get a blessing. But a lot of people are wondering if it's because they put two and two together and realized that something was about to happen to JJ that night. Had they gone back to their room and discussed it? And again, if they thought this, we don't know, but if they thought this was a possibility, if this is the real reason they were knocking on the door, because asking for a blessing in the middle of the night, I don't know. Does that sound realistic to you? Put a 1 in the chat if you think that they were knocking on Lori's door and texting her because they wanted a blessing for David because he didn't feel well. Put a 2 in the chat if you think they maybe were starting to put the pieces together and wanted to talk to Lori about it. So let's talk about that casting ceremony. So Zulema described the casting ceremony where Chad Daybell claimed to identify and categorize spirits as either light or dark, and how he believed that there was a 2-minute window existed for an evil spirit to inhabit a body. And to be clear, this is not mainstream Mormonism. So there are extremists throughout the world who twist religions especially in groups like this, in order to manipulate other people. And I do think that Lori and Chad were master manipulators. So let's talk about knowledge of what was going on with JJ and Tylee. Zulema testified. So we talked a little bit about Melanie Gibb. Let's talk about Zulema. Let me just put her picture up. Okay, so Zulema, let's see if I put myself over here. Zulema testified about Lori's statement regarding her conversation about JJ passing away young and returning as Colby's son. For those of you that don't know, Colby is Lori's eldest son. And Joe Ryan, who by all accounts was a very nice guy. There were allegations made against him, but Tylee retracted them. And I don't know if Colby retracted his also, but I do feel like Lori's a very manipulative. And if you have a parent that's telling you these things happen, you might be inclined to believe it. But by all accounts, Joe Ryan was a good man. He adopted Colby as his own son, and he had Tylee together with Lori. She would have been Lori Ryan at that time. So in my opinion, it sounds like Zulema and maybe Melanie Gibb and David Warwick were all worried that something was about to happen to JJ. So why did nobody reach out to law enforcement? And we're going to talk about what really happened to Alex Cox, in my opinion, and what really happened to Joe Ryan in just a second. So please stay with me. But when Melanie Gibb heard Chad talking about how Tammy was going to pass away before his 50th birthday, and I pointed out to you during the last live stream, I thought this was extremely narcissistic, that he would be talking about Tammy passing away in relation not to her birthday, but to his birthday, Chad's birthday, right? So knowing what was going to happen to Charles Vallow, many people believe that, Melanie Gibb may have known more about what was really going on in this group than she admitted on the stand. And I'm curious what you guys think. Are you watching closely? So we're going to talk about this marriage between Zulema and Alex Cox. A lot of people feel like it was a sham. And a lot of people feel like there were, group members who knew more than what they've said, and we're wondering if they got an immunity deal. And if so, was it for both Idaho and Arizona, or was it just one or the other? And how comprehensive was this immunity deal? Was it anything and everything, or was it, was like Schmurder excluded? And we're going to talk about what really happened to Alex Cox next. Let me just, I did the poll. I want to check in with you guys. Thank you for, if you give a thumbs up. I want to welcome Anna Steele as a brand new Reporter Room membership. Welcome to Reporter Room. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you for modding today. Njaz is our head mod with Christy Valentine. Ellie says, I'm glad Charles and Brandon got justice. Yeah, now we need justice for Joe Ryan and justice for Joe Ryan. So Kathleen put a 2. Thank you for modding today, Kathleen. Chris Ann put 2. Brother Mike put a 2. Thank you for modding. These are other head mod. Brother Mike. Ellie put a 2. This is our channel member group if you want to become a channel member, but subscribing helps me too, and it's free. Nicole put a 2. Girlfriend said, depends on what they were believing at the time. Maybe in hindsight, it changed. Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. Julie said, poor Colby watching the trial now on his channel. Yeah, I know. I just wonder what he thinks about all of this now. I mean, Lori was very manipulative. So, he was a victim of Lori as well. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. It does help me out with the algorithm. It lets them know a couple things. One, that I'm doing a wholesome show, and 2, that I'm bringing you quality information. Christiane thinks it's a bunch of nutcases. And Julie said, I've always tried to imagine the moment when Chad told Lori that he's always known his wife would pass away. Yeah, right? Okay, so Zulema's marriage, a lot of people believe that this was just a sham to help him because he changed his name. She didn't change her name to his last name, Cox. He changed it to her last name. All right, so I think that's interesting. So a lot of people feel like it was just an attempt by Zulema to assist Lori and Chad and Alex in a cover-up. Let me know if you feel this way also. This is just alleged, just an opinion, but you'll recall that Melanie Pawlowski, this is Brandon Boudreaux's former wife remarried a guy named Ian just a couple of weeks after knowing him. So getting her, it was her last name also being conveniently changed from Boudreaux to Pawlowski in an effort for these group members to cover up their tracks. So let's talk about what really happened to Alex Cox. I think this will tell us what happened to Joe Ryan. Okay. It gives us some clues. So get this. Zulema was contacted by her daughter who came to the house. And Zulema told her daughter she didn't want police inside her house when they responded to the fact that Alex had passed away. Say what now? I'm going to tell you why I think, but the real reason that Zulema didn't want police in her house. I have a very interesting theory. I want to hear your take on it. And I'm going to share it in just a second, but let me just set the table. So the police told Zulema it was considered a crime scene, and she had to let them in. So according to the medical examiner's report, Alex Cox's COD was deemed natural causes, with the primary COD being listed as a bilateral pulmonary thromboemboli. So arterial sclerotic and hypertensive cardiovascular disease was listed as the contributory causes of what happened to Alex. So I wanted to know if he really did pass away, and how common is a bilateral pulmonary thromboembolism. So how common is that? Because I've heard of having one, but how common would it be to have in both lungs, and what would cause this? So according to the Mayo Clinic, a pulmonary embolism is a blockage of the pulmonary artery. That's pulmonaries, your lungs. And although a pulmonary embolism in one lung can happen in 1 in 1,000 people, 2 pulmonary embolisms in 2 different lungs is a lot more rare. So a blood clot was reportedly collected and inventoried and released to detectives at the time of the examination, according to the ME's report. So what about the clot in the other lung? Now, according to the ME's report, it's really interesting. Alex reportedly complained of chest pain, shortness of breath, and then he was found unresponsive on the bathroom floor on December 12th. Now, Alex was found by Zulema's son, who didn't even know that his mother had married Alex Cox, didn't know that Alex Cox's name had been changed to Zulema's last name. And I'm just wondering why Zulema didn't tell her own son that she got married. Again, was this part of a cover-up? Now, Zulema's story aired by Fox 10. Let me show this. Take this down. I want to show you guys the receipts. Okay, let me move myself over here. All right, so this is really, really interesting. So her story aired by Fox 10 reported that Alex Cox had no medical history and was not taking any routine medications. Okay, but when they got his toxicology report, it showed that Alex Cox tested positive for having naloxone, so that's Narcan, in his system. So who gave Alex Cox Narcan and why? Was he taking prescription opioids? Was he using some, another substance that this would have reversed? Because they didn't find that in his toxicology screening. So I think that's, very, very interesting. Why not? Why not? So they had a 58-page report that shows that he had no signs of trauma, and he was found unresponsive in Zulema's house. It says his home. I guess he was living there with Zulema at the time, on December 12th of 2019. And just wanted to show you the receipts here. This is the investigative report. I'm not going to go through it. If you'd like me to go through it on a different one, I will. It's just wonky and it's really, really long. But let's just go over the highlights. So we know that Charles Vallow was done away with in 2019 by Alex Cox. We know that Alex Cox attacked Joe Ryan and tased him and had to serve time in jail. And we know that Alex had told Zulema testified that Alex told her that he was worried that he was being set up to take the fall for Lori and Chad. So were they getting rid of the loose ends? because his COD was deemed natural, with a primary cause being listed as bilateral pulmonary thromboli. And I just thought this is another picture of Alex Cox here. And I think this is really, really interesting. So this is the tox report. He tested positive for Narcan. I just want to show the receipts. It reverses an opioid overdose, but there was no opioids in his system. So let's continue on. So I kept digging. And I wanted to know, why was he given Narcan? Who gave it to him? Why? So Zulema didn't mention that Alex was on any type of medication. They didn't find anything in the tox screen. So was he given medication by someone? And if so, why was he given an overdose medication if he wasn't taking another medication? So what are the symptoms or side effects of Narcan? Well, they can cause swelling of the face, tongue, throat, difficulty breathing. Check. Pulmonary edema. So not pulmonary emboli, but pulmonary edema, which is fluid buildup in the lungs, cardiac complications, fever, sweating, nervousness, accelerated heart rate, nausea and vomiting. Those two jumped out at me. And the cardiac complications jumped out at me, along with the pulmonary edema, which is a fluid buildup in the lungs, and a cardiac complications, which could lead to an arrhythmia, which is just a fancy way of saying an irregular heartbeat. So who gave this Narcan to Alex and why? So what would cause a pulmonary embolism and be undetected in a tox screen? Carbon monoxide is odorless gas formed in the incomplete combustion fuels. When people are exposed to carbon monoxide gas, the molecules literally displace the oxygen in their bodies, which leads to poisoning. Since carbon monoxide does not have an odor, it doesn't have a color, it doesn't have a taste, it can't be detected by our senses. And this means that dangerous concentrations of gas can build up indoors, and that humans have no way of detecting the problem until they become sick. And there's illness is similar to the flu. So what are sources of carbon monoxide? Well, it can be wherever a material burns. It could be a clothes dryer, water heater, furnace or boiler, fireplace, both gas and wood burning, gas stove. It could be your oven, motor vehicles, generators, power tools, lawn equipment, wood stove. So I'm just wondering if this is how they did away with Joe Ryan and also with Alex Cox. I'm just wondering, because it would have looked like natural causes. It would have looked exactly the same as natural causes. This would have been a really easy way to do away with somebody and cover your tracks. And, what is the real reason that Zulema didn't want to let police officers into her home to investigate what happened to Alex? I just really, really, inquiring minds want to know. Let me, we're not done, but I just do want to say thank you to our producers and Jazz, Sasha Angel, George Brown, and Christy Ballantyne. And thank you to our channel members so much. If you would like me to continue to cover the Lori Vallow Daybell case, please subscribe, give this a thumbs up, and consider dropping me a comment in the comment section below. It lets YouTube know that I'm doing a good job. So I think that this all leads back to, and I'm going to play an interview with Tammy Ellison from Analytics, which is Lori Vallow's friend, saying that she paid Alex Cox to do away with Joe Ryan. And I do think that Joe Ryan deserves for justice. So I'm going to use this under fair use. This is Analytics. This is Joe Ryan's sister. Let me take this down. Put this up. This is her blog. She's got a really well thought out timeline, which is really, really helpful. And this is her YouTube channel. And you can subscribe to her as well and give her a thumbs up. And let me see where I'm going on this one. I don't want to play the whole thing. I'm just using a little piece of it. Looks like I'm going to 1 minute, 48 seconds. Okay. All right, here we go.
So he told me I needed to call and tell you guys.
Can you guys hear that? Just a quick yes or no. I just don't want to play the whole thing and then find out you guys couldn't hear it. Can you hear this okay? Hepatic frequency says Zulema has been given a big old bag of money by Lori and Chad immediately prior to Alex's passing that was found in her home. Okay, and just as you can hear it. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Nicole said, I did not see my name on the members list. You didn't? All right, let me look for you really quick. I don't know if I can do it this fast. Let me see. I do remember seeing your name yesterday, and I updated this yesterday. So everybody's moved around in different places. You should be on here, but let's take a look, and then we're going to go through this. If not, I will add you. Thank you for letting me know. I don't have a way to pause it right now. When I'm working on it, I can pause it, obviously, and go through it slower. I don't see you on here, so I will add you. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay, let me make a note to do that. Thank you so much for letting me know, Nicole. All right, so I have that listed to do. All right, so let's listen in as Lori. This is Annie. So not to be concerned, this is Ann Eliason. This is a friend of Lori Vallow and April Raymond, and this was recorded by Joe Ryan. This is recording. It's from Joe Ryan's sister. His sister is named Annie with an IE. So this is Lori Vallow admitting that she paid Alex Cox to do away with Joe Ryan.
Yeah. So he told me I needed to call and tell you guys.
Okay.
Something.
Okay.
Which is that
she didn't say this to me. I don't think she would have ever said this to me, but she did tell two of our mutual friends that she paid her brother to kill Joe Ryan.
Okay, so there it is. So this is a friend of Lori Vallow Daybell and April Raymond telling Chandler police that she paid her brother. So this, in my opinion, not just my opinion, but also Ann Eliason's opinion, and probably Joe Ryan's sister's opinion, that this was indeed paid for. That Joe Ryan was indeed Lori Vallow's victim. Let's listen one more time.
She didn't say this to me. I don't think she would have ever said this to me, but she did tell two of our mutual friends that she paid her brother to kill Joe Ryan.
Tylee's dad?
Yeah. So.
And are not to put words in your mouth, are you, because she has two brothers, are you talking about her brother Alex or?
Alex. Yes, Alex.
Okay. Do you, sorry, I'm taking notes while I talk to you. So,
That's okay.
So she didn't tell you this, but she told two.
She didn't say it to me,
okay.
But she told April Raymond and Angeline Hall that.
So someone was sounding the alarm. And again, the channel is called Analytics, and I will link it for you in the description below. So if you want to listen to the whole thing, you can. And then this is Joe Ryan right here. So that is from Joe Ryan's sister, Analytics. I hope she's okay with me using it. I'm not going to play all of it because you guys can go over to her channel, subscribe, and listen to the whole thing. It's very, very interesting. Let me know what you think, but I do. And I also want to go through carbon monoxide. I want to share this with you. Also, some of the sourcing that I used for the symptoms of carbon monoxide and how I just think this would be an easy way to asphyxiate somebody. And an interesting cause of pulmonary emboli. And remember, having two in two different lungs is really unusual. Having one is 1 in 1,000. Having two is unusual. And it's just definitely, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I think this makes a lot of sense of how they would have done away with Joe Ryan and how they would have done away with Alex Cox. So people are seen all the time with carbon monoxide poisoning. They, with a heated coal ember. She was unconscious with poor ventilation. And she had a popliteal, that means behind her knees, vein thrombosis, a pulmonary emboli, so that's a emboli in her lungs, so it's a clot in her lungs, and possible tissue necrosis with carbon monoxide poisoning. So to me, it's a silent way to do away with somebody that actually would cause a pulmonary emboli. And when I saw that he had one in each lung, I was like, that's seems unusual. Like I could see like throwing a clot and having one, but it just didn't make sense to me that he would have had one in each lung. I just didn't think that added up. Let me know what you guys think about that. This is Chad and Lori with their matching mug shots. And then this is Melanie Pawlowski, who remarried this guy, Ian, very, very quickly. So I do think that it's interesting. Thank you so much for modding today. And Jazz is our head mod, and our other head mod is Brother Mike. And Julie says pulmonary edema is what Tammy had too from asphyxiation. Oh, let me look that up. Let me pull that up. This might explain why she fell while she was on the floor. Okay. All right, so trigger warning on this, guys. Okay, let me take this down, put this up. All right, so let's take a look at what it says. Ooh, this is dark. So the coroner described why she changed Tammy's COD to doing away with someone. So this is Brenda Day, the Fremont County coroner testified. So this was, she testified, it looks like this was Chad Daybell's trial. Yeah. And she said that she got multiple calls asking when she would get there because Chad Daybell was very distraught. Brenda died. The coroner said he was very upset walking around the house when she got there. She observed the body's cold temperature, bruises she identified as old, rigor mortis, pink foam in her mouth. Oh, that's interesting. Blood pooling in the body showed Tammy had passed away on her back, and she asked Chad about his wife's medical history. He said she'd been up at night coughing and throwing up. And I told you guys that carbon monoxide poisoning makes you throw up and cough. It sounds like the flu. He helped her back to bed. The only thing is, how would he have been in the room? He would have had to have left the room for some period of time for this to actually have worked. He said that she woke up because she fell off the bed and pulled the blankets off of him. That's when he noticed that she had passed. At the time, the coroner said she believed Chad's explanation that he could have caused his wife to fall by moving blankets. But looking back, she determined that it would take more force than that to roll a body out of the bed. She said, if someone's passed away, I'm watching my words, they can't roll out of bed. If someone's passed away, they can't move. So that's very, very interesting. She testified that she signed a medical certificate at the time of Tammy's passing that the woman died of a pulmonary edema. Oh my gosh. Wow. Who posted that comment? This is why I love reading your comments. Where is it? She had the pink froth and pulmonary edema. Wow. Julie said it. Pulmonary edema is what Tammy had too. Wow. Good job, you guys. Good sleuthing. This is why I love reading your comments. All right, let's keep going. So she said that Chad said she had low blood pressure and fainting spells and had been feeling off for a few months. We learned though that she had been clogging. She liked to go clogging. I mean, she wasn't acting like somebody was about to pass away. Chad did not voice an opinion about what the autopsy, and the coroner testified, but his daughter Emma Murray did not want one performed, and she said that it was not a factor in her decision that the autopsy was not needed. Okay, so let's talk about what happened when they re-examined Tammy. So 2 months later, those are all classic signs of carbon monoxide poisoning, and all Chad would have to do would be to go out of the room, to exit the room, or put on an N95 mask while he was in bed in the dark. 2 months later, after Tammy's was exhumed from a cemetery in Utah, a coroner was present and said that the findings changed her mind. She said that Tammy's bruise on her arm was very deep. Her stomach contents did not match her husband's report that she had thrown up, and her vital organs looked healthy, except her lungs, which were full of pink foam. She said there shouldn't have been foam in the lungs still, but here we are, all these months later, and there was foam. Following this, she amended the COD to a homicide, specifically asphyxiation. And I wonder if it wasn't manual, if it was carbon monoxide. That would just be the easiest, quietest, silent way to do away with somebody. She said and that would also cause the, it fits what happened with Alex too. And it would also explain why they didn't want law enforcement in the house right away. Maybe they were airing it out. She said that she was contacted by police in Arizona after Chad's name was connected to another attempted murder. They were investigated. She said that had she known this information, it may have changed her decisions, but she did the best she could with the information she had at the time. So very, very interesting. And then we have the friends all saying she was, healthy. Tammy was healthy. Wow, you guys. So that's really interesting. I came to my conclusions a little bit differently. I was just working backwards from what happened to Alex, because I just was like, why was he given Narcan, and why 2 pulmonary emboli? And I just started working back from there. What could cause that, and how? And I knew the asphyxiation from JJ, but this would be a quiet, painless way that you could do this to multiple people while they were sleeping, and they wouldn't know. And all Chad would have to do was leave the room, just say he was going to the bathroom and leave the room while it happened. So that's why she had the pink froth. Wow. Good job, Julie. Hepatic Frequencies said Annie has archived everything on her website. You can access the app she developed, automatically updates the search engine based off the ETN East Idaho news reporting. Thank you, Honeycomb. Well, I'm not convinced that asphyxiation doesn't, it could, but I'm not convinced that I think that would have been caught right away. I think the fact that she was supposedly coughing and throwing up, if that's true, maybe it's not, but that would be a sign of carbon monoxide. But, let me know if you have a different theory. I'm all open to hearing theories, you guys. I want to hear from you guys, what you guys think. Vincenzo says maybe Chad went up to the cozy cone for a while. Yeah, they did repeatedly bring up that staircase in that 3rd floor, but all he would have to do is leave the bedroom, put a towel on the inside of the door underneath the door, and just leave the bedroom. So it's a silent way to have somebody go. Thank you so much, NJazz, for the gifted reporter room membership. If you receive that, please make sure you say thank you to NJazz. Vanessa said, pretty sure the cemetery Tammy was was the same one Chad had worked at. He got a heads up from somebody who currently worked there. Ooh. Wow, you guys. So I would like to, yeah, she is a Black Widow. So it does sound like Joe Ryan was the first victim. I do think Alex Cox was her final victim. Not that he's a victim in the same way that Joe Ryan is. He most certainly is not. I mean, he was not a good person. Joe Ryan, by all accounts, was a good father, a good man. Certainly didn't deserve what happened to him. And yeah, I can't either. He was definitely creepy. And we're going to be doing Jack and Lily, the missing two little ones out of Nova Scotia next. If you want to follow me over there, I'm going to be doing updates on their case as well. And I think I'm going to leave it there, but please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think happened. If you think that this was carbon monoxide, that would just be something so easy that you could, run into a room and it's silent and it's quiet, and the person that's the victim of it would never know that it was happening. They would just cough and maybe feel some nausea and just pass. Let me know what you think happened to Joe Ryan and Alex Cox, and if you think that what happened to Tammy Daybell is related to carbon monoxide poisoning also, and if you think it's weird that Alex Cox had Narcan in his system, but not opioids, and that Alex Cox had not one, but 2 pulmonary embolisms. What are the odds of that happening? Just naturally, they're very low. So let me know what you think about all of this. And thank you so much for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. And I will see you on the next Lori, Vallow, Daybell, Chad Daybell, Zulema, Melanie Gibb, Melanie Pawlowski. Let me know what you want me to look into next, and I will continue to deep dive this case. Thanks for watching. Bye.